Welcome to Barca News. It is June 14th, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, Luis Enrique wants Ferran Torres at PSG. Also, Barcelona keeping Dusan Vlahovic as an option for the summer transfer market. And finally, Julian Alvares rejecting Real Madrid. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and I hope all of you are enjoying this 2026 World Cup. I sure am, especially after yesterday's USA victory over Paraguay. I should say, demolishing victory over Paraguay 4-1. What a performance by the US. I mean, Dest completely destroying the right wing, Pulisic destroying the left wing. We had Robinson with his ball distribution, of course. Balogun with his finishing. I mean, amazing performance by the U.S. Now we have 2 out of the 3 host countries winning their opening matches. Of course, Mexico 2-0 against South Africa. U.S. 4-1 against Paraguay. Canada ended up drawing 1-1, but really entertaining World Cup so far. Today, Brazil was being absolutely, what's the word? Very Real Madrid-esque. In other words, incredibly disappointing. A very top-heavy team with no ideas, no clear strategy. I think Ancelotti is pretty much doing the same thing with Brazil that he did with Real Madrid, a team with lots and lots of attackers who depend on individualities, but overall, just nothing to show for. No midfield, no defense. I mean, if it wasn't for Vinicius Jr.'s goal, honestly, this could have easily been a Morocco win. But, so far, really interesting results. But of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about the 2026 World Cup so far? How's your team doing? Has your team played yet? I'm still waiting, of course, for Spain's debut. I'm really rooting for Spain and for Argentina's debut on Tuesday. So I'm excited for those teams. Of course, I'm going to also be watching, the other big teams like France, for example. Netherlands versus Japan. That should be an exciting game. But anyways, enough about the World Cup. Let's talk about Barcelona. After all, I'm sure this is why you guys here. You want to hear Barca news. Starting with, of course, that Barcelona have secured the future of one of their most exciting attacking prospects in the academy, who's no other than Oscar Gistau. Now, Oscar Gistau is a center forward currently in the academy. He is considered a very promising attacker. As we know, the academy usually produces very well midfielders, sometimes wingers, sometimes center backs, but usually center forwards is not something La Masia is known for. But Oscar Gista is one of those few center forwards currently in La Masia that, it's showing a lot of promise. His contract was set to expire in 2027, but now Barcelona have extended it by 1 more year until 2028 with an option to renew for 1 more. Now, Oscar Gistau's development has been curtailed these last 2 seasons due to injuries. He's been injured a lot. In fact, this last season, he was only able to feature for Barça Athletic 7 times the whole season. But despite the consistent injuries, Barcelona still believe in the player's potential. And this is why they have secured a contract renewal. And it's expected that Oscar Gistau will begin the preseason under Hansi Flick. So we'll see how the youngster will do. The youngster who has been doing a lot of exercises the last few months to get, stronger fitness exercises so he can stay healthier. Hopefully, Oscar Gistau can stay healthy this upcoming season because, again, incredibly promising player who, unfortunately, injuries have not been kind to him. Now, speaking of attackers, we got to talk about the big news today because, ladies and gentlemen, Luis Enrique wants Ferran Torres at PSG. Now, Luis Enrique, of course, is very familiar with Ferran Torres. He was his coach in Spain's national team. In fact, it was Luis Enrique who bet on Ferran Torres, calling him up to the Spanish team and, consistently using him. And he would like him at PSG, of course, given Ferran Torres' work rate off the ball. That's something that Ferran Torres is very good at. A lot of times we complain about his finishing or his control, but we ignore the work rate that he puts on when he's off the ball, with his pressing, defending, coming all the way back down to help with the defense and the build-up. So Luis Enrique, of course, he's a big fan of that. He wants all of his players to be able to press and put in a lot of work on and off the ball. This is why he had no problem getting rid of Kylian Mbappe. And now Luis Enrique would like to see Ferran Torres at PSG. But there is a big but. That would be only if Barcola ends up leaving. Now, there's been a lot of talks about Barcola looking to leave during this summer transfer market because he has lost his starting position to other wingers who are ahead of him, like Doué and Kvaratskhelia. So if Barcola does end up leaving, then Luis Enrique would like PSG to sign Ferran Torres in the place of Barcola so he can be kind of like a sub for Doué and Kvaratskhelia. Now, of course, as we know, Hansi Flick would like Ferran Torres to stay. We know that Ferran Torres wants to stay at Barcelona, and Barcelona, of course, have already started talks with his agent to extend his contract, as Ferran Torres' contract expires in the summer of 2027, and they want to extend it. So I don't see Ferran Torres leaving. And also, like I said, this would only, like PSG would only launch negotiations for him if Barcola ends up leaving. Now, personally speaking, I would not sell Ferran Torres. I know during the season I used to complain a lot about him and say we should sell him, but why wouldn't I sell him now? Because right now the option, the main objective is to find a starting center forward, so Ferran Torres could be his sub. So far, we have not signed a starting center forward. So if we sell Ferran, we don't have a starting center forward, nor do we have a sub, right? So it just would not make sense to sell Ferran Torres. We would be left with no number nines, no center forwards. So, I think Barcelona are doing the right thing. I think Ferran Torres off the bench is a great option. I would not have him as my starting center forward, but again, I also would not sell him because that would leave us with 0-0 center forwards. Now, as far as Barcola, real quick, I have seen a lot of reports, people linking Barcola to Barcelona. Yes, Barcelona did consider Barcola a few weeks ago. We talked about it here in the channel, but now it's no longer the case because, of course, Barcelona have signed Anthony Gordon, so it wouldn't make sense for Barcelona to still be interested in Barcola. I mean, what are we going to sign? A third left winger? Plus, why would Barcola want to come to Barcelona when on the left wing we have Rafinha and Anthony Gordon? And of course, on the right, we have Lamine Yamal, who neither Barcola nor anyone is going to be able to take his spot. So if Barcola is looking to leave PSG, a back-to-back Champions League winner, because of lack of minutes, he's definitely not going to come to Barcelona, where he's going to have to fight with two other left wingers on the left and with Lamine Yamal on the right. So I've seen a lot of reports, but no truth to those reports. Yes, Barcelona considered Barcola in the past, but that's no longer the case. We have Anthony Gordon, so we are good on left wingers. Right now, the objective is to find a center forward. Now, speaking of center forwards, we do have to talk about Dusan Vlahovic because Barcelona keeping the Serbian center forward on their list of potential targets. Now, Vlahovic's contract expires in a few days at the end of this month, on June 30th to be more exact. He will become a free agent. Juventus have tried several times to extend his contract. It has not worked. Juventus offering him currently a 5 million euro salary per season. Vlahovic is looking for an 8 million euro salary per season plus a minimum of 2-year contract. So despite the multiple attempts of Juventus to renew Vlahovic, all those attempts have failed. So Vlahovic will become a free agent, and he's still without a team despite meeting with other teams like Chelsea, like Manchester United. And of course, he has offered himself to Barcelona on several occasions. He's even offered to lower his salary. He's offered to take a secondary role. Pretty much whatever Barcelona are willing to throw at his way, he's willing to accept it. And Barcelona so far not making any concrete moves, but also not ruling out the signing of Vlahovic. They are keeping him on the list. They're keeping a close eye on him. Why? In case, of course, Julian Alvares' deal doesn't happen. Julian Alvares remains Barcelona's #1 target, but if that doesn't happen, then Vlahovic could be a good market opportunity to bring an actual center forward for free as a free agent who's willing even to reduce his salary. Now, a second option has emerged where Barcelona could also sign Dusan Vlahovic, and that is if Ferran Torres ends up leaving. Now, the plan is not for Ferran to leave. Barcelona want to renew Ferran. Flick wants to keep Ferran. Ferran wants to stay at Barcelona. But in case PSG lose Barcola and convince Ferran to join them, or any other occasions where Ferran decides to leave Barcelona, then Barcelona would still sign Vlahovic, even if they end up signing Julian Alvarez, right? So if Julian Alvarez fails, Barcelona could bring Vlahovic as the starting 9. If Barcelona sign Julian but Ferran leaves, then Barcelona would still bring Vlahovic, but as a sub to Julian Alvarez. So 2 chances where Vlahovic could arrive in Barcelona, but of course, he's not the main target. He's kind of like an option B in case Julian doesn't arrive or in case Ferran ends up leaving. Now, speaking of Julian, we will end today's video with the news that the Argentine has rejected Real Madrid. Now, if you don't know, because you missed the video on the channel a few days ago, Real Madrid announced officially that they have made a 150 million euro offer to Atletico Madrid for Julian Alvares. And that offer was immediately rejected by Atletico de Madrid. And of course, when that news broke, I said, this sounds to me like it was just a planned, a planned bluff or a planned PR stunt by Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, because of course we know that when Florentino Perez was running for re-election during his campaign, he promised that he was going to sign a big star for 150 million euros. He didn't say who it is. So by making this offer, he kind of fulfills the campaign. We're saying, oh, look, I made an offer, 150 for Julian, but oh, well, they rejected it. That's out of my hand, but I did my job right. And as far as Atletico, they benefit from it because they can go to Barca and be like, look, Real Madrid made a 150 million euro offer. We rejected it. So obviously we want more from you, right? So that's what it looked like to me, like it was just a PR stunt by two pathetic clubs trying to, harm Barcelona, because since they cannot compete against Barcelona on the pitch, they have to come up with things like that. And well, now this news of Julian rejecting Real Madrid kind of confirms it. Now, why does it confirm it? Because Julian Alvares' agent has officially called up Real Madrid and said, hey, we're not interested in joining you. And also he has confirmed that Real Madrid never reached out to Julian Alvares. So that tells you right there that offer that Madrid made was pure BS. Why? Because clubs don't do that. Clubs don't go offer 150 million euros for a player they've never talked to. I mean, that's absolutely insane. Why would you do that? Why would you make an offer, a huge offer for a player, if you don't know even if the player wants to come? What happens if Atletico Madrid would have said, okay, we accept your offer? Then Julian's like, I don't care. I'm not going there. And then what, right? Now you just did all that work for nothing. Usually when you sign a player, you approach the player first. You ask him, hey, are you interested in coming? Yes. Okay. How much? What would be your salary? What would be your bonuses? Blah, 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 blah. If you agree on everything, then you go to the club and offer them money for the player, because you know the player wants to come and you know you can afford the player because you've already negotiated his salary, right? So this right there, Julian Alvares' agent, rejecting Real Madrid and confirming that Madrid never reached out to them to begin with, tells me all I need to know, which was a PR stunt by two pathetic clubs, playing pathetic games, because that's all they can do. They cannot compete on the pitch. So, of course, they got to do things like that. Now, Barcelona was never worried about Real Madrid's offer, because Julian Alvares' agent reached out to Barcelona when that news broke and said, hey, look, we have no intention of going to Real Madrid. We know nothing about this offer. They never reached out to us. Julian wants to go to Barca and Barcelona only. So Barcelona was never really worried. So my question to you, Florentino Perez, what was the point of all this? At the end of the day, nothing worked. And the only thing you accomplished was looking pathetic like you always do. Now, Atletico Madrid will need to figure out their shit together. Barcelona right now, they made the offer. They're okay waiting. They know Julian wants to come to Barca and Barca only, so they're not worried. They would like for Julian to come out and say something, but Julian, of course, right now focused on the World Cup. So Barcelona willing to wait, willing to bid their time, because after all, they know Julian wants to come to Barca. And as far as Atletico Madrid, they're the ones who are actually running out of time. Why? Because they need to figure out what they're going to do this summer, right? Griezmann has left to the MLS. Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid. Sorloth is on his way to Italy. So they pretty much need to figure out their attack. Is Julian going to stay? Is he not? They're going to have to figure it out pretty soon. So Barcelona, actually, the time is playing in their advantage, as opposed to Atletico Madrid, who are going to have to figure out their crap pretty soon. And they're going to have to stop, playing games like this pathetic offer by Real Madrid that they rejected. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know everything your thoughts about everything I share with you. Oscar Gistao's renewal and Luis Enrique wanting Ferran. Would you sell him? Would you not? Vlahovic, would you sign him? Would you not? And Julian, what do you think about Real Madrid doing this? Let me know down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be scars.